Good evening and welcome to Courts Today. I am Urvashi Chauhan, and in this video we cover major legal updates from the Supreme Court and High Courts across India, including Maharashtra's challenge to the 7/11 blast acquittals, the ECI's stand on Aadhaar and voter ID, FIR plea against Rahul Gandhi, the President's reference on bill assent timelines, QR code directives during Kavan Yatra, a key UAPA ruling, overstay penalties on ex-MLAs, and a tricolour symbol plea rejection. Watch till the end and remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon. The state of Maharashtra has filed a challenge in the Supreme Court against the Bombay High Court's recent judgment acquitting all 12 accused in the 2006 Mumbai train blast case. The case was mentioned today before a bench led by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai by Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who urged urgent listing. The CJI has agreed to hear the matter on Thursday. The Solicitor General submitted that it was a serious matter and that the special leave petition was ready, requesting for the matter to be heard tomorrow. The CJI noted that 8 of the accused have already been released following the acquittal, but the SG maintained that important legal issues still remain. As you already know, yesterday the Bombay High Court overturned the verdict of a special Makoka court, which had awarded death penalty to 5 and life imprisonment to 7 of the accused for their role in the serial bombings on Mumbai's Western Railway local trains on 11th July 2006. The High Court held that the prosecution had failed to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. It also raised concerns about custodial torture, noting that some of the accused were allegedly tortured by ATS officers under pressure to find culprits. The blast had killed over 180 people and injured more than 800, making it one of the deadliest terror attacks in India. A batch of petitions have been filed before the Supreme Court challenging the special intensive revision of electoral rolls ordered in Bihar by the Election Commission of India. The petitioners here argue that ECI is overstepping its mandate by demanding proof of citizenship for inclusion in the voter list and excluding commonly used documents like electoral photo identity card or EPIC, Aadhaar card and ration cards. Well, the Election Commission of India has defended its decision to reject Aadhaar, voter ID and ration cards as sole proof for voter inclusion. In its affidavit, ECI clarified that the ongoing electoral revision in Bihar is a de novo exercise under Rule 21(3) of Representation of People Act 1950, meaning a fresh list is being prepared from scratch. The Commission said that electoral photo identity cards cannot be used for inclusion since they are based on the previous rolls, which are themselves under revision. Using them, it said, would defeat the very purpose of a fresh update. On Aadhaar, the Commission said that it is merely a proof of identity and not of citizenship, and thus not valid for voter eligibility. It also cited Section 9 of the Aadhaar Act to support its stand. Similarly, ration cards were excluded due to the prevalence of fake cards. Election Commission states that centre's recent data showed around 5 crore bogus cards were removed from the system. However, the Commission also clarified that the list of 11 prescribed documents is only indicative. Electoral registration officers can consider other documents on a case-by-case basis as long as they comply with Section 22 of the RP Act and relevant rules. The Commission has also defended its power to seek proof of citizenship, saying that it is duty-bound under Article 326 of the Constitution and the RP Act to ensure only Indian citizens are registered to vote. The Supreme Court had earlier observed that determining citizenship is primarily union government's job. Well, the case is now posted for hearing on 28th July. Stay tuned. The Apex Court today issued notice to union government and all state governments on a presidential reference made by President Draupadi Murmu under Article 143 of the Constitution. The reference raises critical constitutional questions about the power of governors and president under Articles 200 and 201, particularly concerning the assent or withholding of assent to bills passed by state legislatures. A 5-judge constitution bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai and comprising Justices Surya Kant, Vikram Nath, P.S. Narasimha and A.S. Chandrurkar took up the matter and listed it for next Tuesday, indicating that arguments may begin in August. The Attorney General for India, R. Venkataramani, was asked to assist the court. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta appeared for the union government and waived formal notice. Senior Advocate K.K. Venugopal appeared for the state of Kerala and Senior Advocate P. Wilson for the state of Tamil Nadu. Both indicated that they would raise preliminary objections, particularly about maintainability of the presidential reference. Tamil Nadu's counsel argued that the reference touches upon issues already settled in the recent Tamil Nadu governor's case. If you recall, in Tamil Nadu, a major standoff arose after Governor R.N. Ravi kept 10 bills pending for over a year without granting assent, rejecting them, or sending them to the president. These bills included key laws like the NEET exemption bill and those curbing the governor's powers in university appointments. The DMK government accused the governor of delaying legislation for political reasons. In 2023, the state moved the Supreme Court, which held that governors cannot indefinitely delay action on bills. An outer limit of 3 months must be followed for decision making under Article 200. And similarly, if a bill is reserved for the president must also act within 3 months. The court had also declared that 10 bills pending before the Tamil Nadu governor for over a year were deemed to have received assent. That judgment has since triggered debate, with former Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar criticizing the court's use of Article 142, calling it a nuclear missile in the judiciary's arsenal. He questioned whether judiciary can direct the president. This backdrop led to the presidential reference, which seeks clarity on 14 constitutional questions, some of which include what options does a governor have when a bill is presented to them under Article 200? Is the governor bound by advice of the Council of Ministers? Can courts prescribe how the president exercises powers under the Article 201? Can the Supreme Court override presidential actions under Article 142, etc.? The reference and the upcoming hearings are expected to have far-reaching consequences on the balance of power between center and the states and the constitutional roles of governors and the president. It also revives the debate around limits of judicial review in matters involving high constitutional authorities. A Varanasi Sessions Court has set aside a magistrate's order that had earlier dismissed a plea seeking FIR against Congress MP and leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi. The case concerns his alleged provocative remarks on Sikhs during a speech in the United States in September 2024, where he reportedly questioned whether Sikhs feel safe in India wearing turbans or visiting gurudwaras. The complainant Nageshwar Mishra alleged that these comments were inflammatory and aimed at disturbing communal harmony. But the magistrate had rejected his plea, citing lack of prior sanction from the center under Section 208 of the new BNSS, since the alleged offence took place abroad. However, now the Sessions Court noted that such sanction is not needed at the stage of inquiry and becomes mandatory only after the court takes cognizance. The court relied on key Supreme Court precedents in this regard, including Ajay Agarwal versus Union of India, to clarify this legal position. Well, now the case goes back to the magistrate, who has been directed to hear it afresh and decide the matter in accordance with law. As you know, the directive by states of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand during the Kaman Yatra asking eateries along the Yatra route to display QR codes revealing owner details has sparked widespread controversy, leading to a petition being filed before the Supreme Court over concerns of religious profiling. The court today refused to go into the legality of these directives. A bench of Justices M.M. Sundaresh and N.K. Singh disposed of the applications challenging these directions, noting that the Yatra was ending today. However, the court clarified that eateries must display license and registration certificates as per law. The petitioners, including Professor Apurva Nand, activist Akar Patel, and others, argued that the QR code rule indirectly revealed the religious identity of food vendors, violating last year's Supreme Court's order and promoting religious profiling. Senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi called the move unconstitutional, saying that it was a direct assault on secularism and the right to trade under Article 19(1)(g). But Justice Sundaresh said that consumers have a right to know if a hotel has always been vegetarian or has temporarily changed its menu for the Yatra, adding that customer is king. Senior advocate Mukul Rohtagi, appearing for the state of UP, defended the rule as being based on FSSAI regulations and said it was needed to avoid misrepresentation and maintain order, citing incidents from last year. Although the petitioners sought a clear ruling that QR codes and names need not be disclosed, the court declined, stating that it will not examine the issue further as the Yatra is over. But it allowed the petitioners to approach the High Court if they wish to challenge it further. The Chhattisgarh High Court Court has refused to grant bail to 3 individuals accused of involvement in a deadly IED blast that killed an ITBP constable in November 2023 during election duty in the state. The blast occurred near Bade Gobra when a pre-planned IED exploded, seriously injuring Constable Jogendra Kumar, who later succumbed to his injuries. Let me tell you, an IED or improvised explosive device is a homemade bomb constructed and employed in ways other than the conventional military action. A case was registered under multiple serious offences, including murder, criminal conspiracy, and provisions of the Explosive Substances Act, Arms Act, and most importantly, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA. The bail plea had earlier been rejected by a special NIA court in Raipur, and this decision was challenged before the High Court. But the High Court upheld denial of bail, emphasizing that under Section 43D, subsection 5 of UAPA, bail cannot be granted if there is a prima facie evidence of involvement of the accused in terrorism-related offences. The court observed that in this case, the accused were allegedly linked to CPI Maoist, a banned organization, and were involved in providing support like detonators, wires, and attending conspiracy meetings. These findings were supported by protected witnesses and recovered materials. While the accused had argued for bail citing prolonged detention and family hardship, the court made it clear that such factors cannot override national security concerns. The trial court has been asked to conclude the trial preferably within 6 months. The Supreme Court today came down heavily on former Bihar MLA Avinash Kumar Singh for continuing to occupy a government residence long after his term had ended. A bench headed by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai along with Justices K. Vinod Chandran and N.V. Anjaria was hearing Singh's plea challenging a Patna High Court order. That order had upheld Bihar government's decision to recover over 20 lakhs from him as rent for overstaying in the government quarter allotted to him during his tenure as an MLA. The court did not entertain Singh's petition and allowed him to withdraw it, noting strongly that one should not hold on to government accommodation endlessly. Singh was first allotted the quarter after being re-elected as MLA in 2006. However, even after his term ended, he continued to occupy the residence till 2015. Despite multiple notices, he failed to vacate the property, forcing the government to impose penal rent. Initially, Singh had approached the Patna High Court seeking to quash the recovery order. However, his petition was withdrawn. A later suit against his eviction also met the same fate. In 2016, the government served him with the notice to pay house rent dues of over 20 lakhs for the period he stayed illegally, that is from April 2014 to May 2016. His final attempt before the High Court, a letters patent appeal, also failed. The division bench noted that Singh had pressurized authorities to regularize the house in his favor even after he had ceased to be an MLA and called his conduct improper and arbitrary. The High Court further ordered him to pay interest at 6% per annum on the due amount from 2016 till the date of payment, citing his refusal to vacate despite repeated notices. Now, with the Supreme Court also refusing to intervene, Singh is left with no option but to pay the full rent amount with interest. The Supreme Court today refused to entertain a PIL challenging political parties for using flags resembling the national tricolour with their party symbols. A bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai along with Justices K. Vinod Chandran and N.V. Anjaria was hearing the PIL filed by a petitioner in person. The plea alleged that parties like the Indian National Congress were replacing the Ashok Chakra with the party symbols, violating Prevention of Insults to National Honour Act. But the bench dismissed the plea, with the CJI saying that some parties have been doing it before independence. The petitioner had named the Congress, both factions of the NCP, the Election Commission and the Union Government as respondents.